At least to me, it does.
Jerem, can I ask you a question about the? You know that argument that Darth oftentimes gives to Muslims. He's got like this go-to argument, like
right,
the relational one, right? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, that that Allah's autistic, or something like that.
Well, the argument for anyone who's listening is just something like, is Allah personal? Yeah, it's like a flowchart. And then it says, does God have all great making properties? And you have to say, yeah. And then Darth asks, like, was God personal? And they go, yeah. And then he goes like, well, did you know that to be personal is to be relational? And they're like, yeah. So like, wait a minute. So if it's the case that like before creation, Allah was the only entity that existed. So how was he relational when there was no one else? Checkmate, Muslim. That's how it goes, you know?
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
Yeah, so why can't like the same argument basically be used against the Christian God with not with respect to relationality, but like any
Creation?
number of other. Well, that would be one, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm familiar.
Like
I'm familiar with
creation, forgiving, any number of different properties like that. Yeah.
Oh, from what I understand, okay, it's the idea that the fact that God is the creator is not a thing that is integral to his very nature. Okay, the fact that God is relational is. God's relational is not contingent. The fact that God is creation, the fact that God created is a contingency. And so if they want to claim that God's
just look, it's noteworthy for me and people listening. Darth directly disagrees with that. Did you know that? I'm not saying that you have to agree with him or you do agree. I'm just saying that, like, look, this is a not Darth view. Did you know that?
What, that God's creation or the fact that God is a creator is some sort of is necessary in the same way that, or like a necessary property set in the same way that relationality is.
Yeah.
I've never heard him say
that. He's listed the necessary properties, and one of them is creator God, omnipotent, omniscient. He's listed that in there.
Oh, well, yeah, he's okay. Well, yeah, I understand the sense in which he's using it. I think he's using it in a different sense than I am. I'm just saying that the fact that he's a creator is not like it's not like a property set that is like posited to be eternal. Hold on a second.
Why is there a rooster there?
It's a dog. It's a rooster.
It sounded like a rooster.
It's a Mexican rooster.
Where did he go? There he
is.
Back.
Oh. Hold on a second.
Jeez. Hey, YouTube out there. Hey, how's it going? Everyone say hi to YouTube.
Tom Rabbittt. Hey,
Hi.
YouTube.
Hey.
Tom Rabbittt.
Oh, it's Tom Rabbittt.
Tom Rabbittt likes to record things.
Hey Tom, so do Christians get in some trouble when they disagree with Darth on stuff? Like, do they get in trouble for that?
Depends on who you are. If you're not part of the squad, like if a Christian just walks in and they like were to give a view that disagrees with Darth and they're pretty like adamant about it, JRobin would get like a finagling. Did you mean this? Or you're kind of trying to say this, right? Or, well, I mean, like, I think what you're trying to do is this, right? Question mark. There's a lot of that. But if you're new and you just walk in the room, you get none of that. You're probably going to get the boot.
I mean, if you're new, you're going to get asked about the fifth book.
Right.
Most likely.
Well, you're also going to get asked how old you are.
Yeah, it seems like when we get people away from Darth and we start actually kind of talking to them, and like JRobin, to his credit, as being probably the most chill I've seen. Yeah, you start to see that they have a lot of different views. And what I would like to see is to actually see these views hashed out between them. I mean, some of the most interesting discussions are between two Christians or two theists, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
I have another question for JRobin when he gets back. I'm not going to try and like press really hard about anything. I just want to like hear what he has to say, because I don't get this opportunity to like talk to him like this a lot.
Tom, let me ask you something.
Okay.
Do you think there are people
Okay, hold on, he's back.
who
Sorry.
are presented with evidence who refuse to see the evidence because they're motivated? Like, is this
Yeah.
a thing or not?
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, JRobin, what were you saying? We were talking
I was
about
just thinking.
Darth has a different view.
Oh yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah. Creation and relationality. Yeah. I mean, if that's the case, that's fine. It's not really like biggest issue for me. I just see it. I see it in a way that it's not like a it's not something like his very nature is that he's a creator, but it's in his nature that he is personal. Right. So if the Muslim wants to claim that it's not in God's nature or Allah's nature that he's personal, right, then we're just going to say that he doesn't have anyone to relate to in eternity past.
Right, but like, so let's just use one of those examples. So like God, one of God's traits is he's forgiving, and he's maximally forgiving. But who was he forgiving in eternity past?
He didn't need to. But that's I'm not. I mean, that's not like an issue.
Right, but like, why can't the Muslim just kind of make a similar play and say, look, when an atheist says, hey, God doesn't exist because he's omnipotent, and to ask whether he could make a rock so big he couldn't lift it, it's like you're going outside of like logical confines, right? But I mean, couldn't they say the same thing? I was like, yeah, he was maximally relational and there wasn't anyone there. So like, it's just basically another version of, can God make a rock so heavy you can't lift?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose so. I'm not. That's why I don't typically use that, because I'm not the most versed in that argument. So I don't use arguments that I'm not the most versed in. So
It's a really good point.
I'd have to figure out the implications.
Right. Well, I'm not going to press you on it. Look, I just want to get your 10 meter opinion on it, because Darth is of the opinion that almost every single Muslim he comes across, he gives this argument to, and he describes it as a knockdown argument, right? I mean, if once he tells a Muslim that, if they're still a Muslim, he thinks they're like insane. But do you think it's a knockdown argument?
Well, I'm not. That's why I'm saying I don't use the argument much. So I'm not going to consider it a knockdown or not a knockdown, because I don't know all the implications and all the counter arguments to it. So, I mean, I think it's interesting that they will claim that God is relational; he doesn't have anyone to relate to. But, I mean, I understand, on the same token, that could be related about God's.
Okay, I accept that answer. Let me ask you another question. This is kind of related. So he says that the Christian God doesn't have this problem because in eternity past, Christian God is a Trinity. Therefore, it was relational to, Jesus was relational to the Father, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes on to say something about, let's see, it has to do with Adam. He says that when he created Adam, and then he says,
right, Adam is not good for him to be alone. But I think I know what you're say.
Right, he
this
says,
is why I don't use that either, because Adam could relate it to God or something like that. Is that what you're going to say?
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. Yes.
Yeah, that's why I don't use that argument. That's kind of why I don't, unless because I haven't really. I have to ask Darth about that, honestly, because I don't
Do you
I
think
meant
it's
to
a
ask
bad
him, but
argument?
well, if he doesn't have an answer, that's I would probably say
Definitely
it's not a
bad argument.
Because you just from hearing me, have you thought about that before?
yes. That's why I knew what you're gonna say because that's why that's why I don't use the argument because I don't have an answer.
I'm just saying that, like, look, when I hear him say that, I didn't have to think about it long. I just immediately was like, wait a minute, doesn't everyone have a relationship with God? Doesn't he like talk to God in the garden and stuff?
Right. Yeah. That's yeah. Right.
Right. So how is that? So Darth, just for the YouTube people, Darth wants to say he created Adam, right? And then later on he said it was not good. And Darth's interpretation of that is that it was not good because Adam was lacking in the trait of relationality, meaning that he couldn't relate to another, so it was not good, right? But JRobin seems to think the exact same thing I was thinking, which is that he was relating to God, and everybody has a relationship with God, right?
But it is not the same relationship as we have with other humans, which we can.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but
right. So
it is a relationship.
I was thinking about. Yeah, go
sure,
ahead.
Sure. It's not the same relationship, but it is a relationship, right? You couldn't be talking just about the like property of relationality, right? You would just be talking about a specific relationality, right?
Yeah, but if you have been single for some time, then you know that it is not good. You want to.
But he wasn't single, right? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, wouldn't that make Adam like Darth says autistic because he wasn't relational?
No, Darth. Under their view, can somebody ban that person? Darth something.
Can the mods do their fucking job, please? Yeah, thank you.
So Robin, can I ask you something else? Robin, you called in tonight to the line. I heard your call. I didn't really get what was the point that you tried to convey.
I was asking them if nothing can be defended to be impossible, why they would be skeptical about any state of affairs, and they I don't know what was going on in their head, but they just couldn't continue the conversation because they were stuck on definitions, and I think they were just being willfully dense in that interaction entirely.
Okay,
Matt,
I really didn't get on your question either. Can you elucidate a little bit what you want to know actually?
No, I understand that. Look, so I'm not saying that they're dense, but I'm saying that they knew it was a precept type question, and so they immediately put the guard up and started asking me to define terms and started giving their own proprietary definitions. But yeah, so what I mean when I ask why they would be skeptical about any state of affairs, is because they're going to be employing some sort of a standard, and either that standard is going to be reflective in one way or another of reality, or it's not. It's going to be a standard that is rational to hold to, or it's not. But if there is,
it would be arbitrary. You would have to set that standard first, and then you could also be skeptic about that standard itself.
Exactly, right. And if nothing at all,
basically you go into an infinite regress, because if you are skeptic, then you should also be skeptic about your epistemological method itself, if skepticism is a reliable way to truth.
Exactly,
in the end, this leads to nihilism, where you cannot know anything for certain. That is actually the position that any honest atheist should come to, then confess that he cannot know anything for sure.
I know for sure that I don't know everything.
Listen, Angela, this guy sounds like he has an infinite regress problem himself.
Exactly.
Well, Altangela, I agree, and that's actually a good angle to go, but that wasn't the angle. The angle I was just going was, if nothing's impossible, right, then on what basis are they going to assert that any state of affairs is objectionable?
Did he claim that?
Huh?
Did he
claim that nothing? He claimed. What did he claim?
Yes, he didn't make any sort of claim of that, right?
Oh no, he didn't. Not yet. That's why I'm saying. Well, I was kind of just because I know that they can't defend why anything is impossible, right? So if they wanted to contend that, we would have gone into that. But
JRobin, when you say nothing is impossible, are you asking modally? Are you asking physically?
I really don't.
I'm asking in any modality. It wouldn't change anything. Any real impossibility, if they believe it exists, right? Then
JRobin, what do you mean when you say real impossibility?
Oh, it's like JRobin. Can you turn your noise suppression on, man? There's a lot of background noise.
TV or something in the background.
Sorry. Yeah.
Honestly, I have difficulty with the question as well, and I think maybe when you ask it, you should maybe be a little bit more clear or clarify what you want, where you want to go with that, what the point is. Maybe I don't know.
Well, I would have actually clarified, but they were getting hung up on the definitions. I literally would have made it clear.
Right? If you
right. So let me suppose that I am at.
Damn, Otangelo, take it easy, bro. Relax.
JRobin, if you have a God that can perform miracles, so that like even that you may not be aware that he even performed a miracle for something to happen, he could change your memory on a whim. He could change your understanding of your perception of reality. How do you know what's impossible or not? He could change it and you have no idea what's going to happen or what's going on. From one moment to the next, everything could be completely the same, and you would have no idea of it.
I know the answer to this.
Yeah, I do. We do have idea about it because we know that the preconditions for rationality are set by God's nature. For example, we know that God operates in a logical way, so we know that there are certain logical impossibilities.
That skirts the question, right? If he could perform miracles that could change the way that reality works, such to the point that you could not even be aware that he performed that, right? Like God, it could have been the case that water used to give things that came into contact with it the quality of being dry, and then God performed a miracle that made water give things that came into contact with it the quality of wetness. You don't know that. You can't have induction. You can't have any continuity with a God that can perform miracles. It's the exact opposite of what you guys are claiming.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with this argument. I'm very familiar with it, and I'm telling you, okay, you guys are not in the same position as we are, okay? Because you don't have any basic preconditions for these things.
I didn't say anything
okay?
about my position, right?
I understand, but I understand. But this line of reasoning. Let me finish. I understand this line of reasoning.
Let's just keep it like kind of non-super aggressive. I mean, this is going like I like getting answers from JRobin, even if they might be like superficial. I don't even care if he says I don't know, but I like the way this is going right now. And like I know if we like escalate it and say like, oh, you're lying or you're dodging, all that type of language is going to be escalating into where it's like this. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
So I'll just fine. Okay, I'll just stuck with my position. In the Christian worldview, okay, we have Ginger. You have to be quiet. Ginger.
My dog's name is Ginger.
I am a ginger.
Does it have a soul?
It sounds like a chihuahua, to be honest.
You sure it's not a chicken?
Tasteless can identify them by their.
Okay, so in the Christian worldview, we have a basis for regularity in nature because God Himself is regular. That doesn't mean that God doesn't intervene or interact with reality, but that doesn't change the fact that we can have certain basic knowledge about reality. Okay, that doesn't change that. Because the only reason they're considered miracles is because they're acting contrary to how reality operates. Am I not correct?
Would you? Okay, I see what you're saying. Would you agree that we all have certain does your God grant us all certain knowledge about reality, whether or not we believe He exists?
No, I'm not claiming that He does. No.
So you're
I don't
saying
even believe that He does.
So you don't think atheists are granted the same knowledge that you have?
I thought you asked if God granted us knowledge of everything. Did you not ask that?
No. I'm sorry.
What did you? Wait, what do you? Okay.
This is like when you gave your answer, right? I don't know. I don't think we're going to go any further with because I don't see how a God who could perform miracles so that you're totally unaware of it could give you knowledge, because as soon as he performs a miracle, that could basically reverse the knowledge that you have, and you could not be aware of it because he would also have the ability to change the knowledge in you, correct? So it would just be like in the case of, let's say, he performs some miracle that changes, maybe, I don't know, whatever, it doesn't matter what it is, right? But you had whatever knowledge you had before that miracle happened. He could change it so that you're not even like. Could he change your concept so that you could forget what you thought you knew before? Like it wasn't even a situation, it wasn't even a question. Now you just think that whatever that miracle was just a natural part of nature, that and he gave you the knowledge that that's how it always was. Couldn't that be the case?
I mean, I'm not going to object to you positing that on a logical basis. But the point is that if it's a miracle, okay, by definition, it's acting contrary to normal operation of how reality works. And there are certain things that are set in stone, like the fact that God acts logically, because God's nature is logical. And so we have knowledge of logical possibility and impossibility, things like that are not changed and that cannot be changed, because God himself cannot be changed.
Can I ask you a really quick question, JRobin? When you say that miracles are by definition like reality operating contrary to the way it does, do you mean just the appearance of that, or do you mean actually? Because I mean, I just want to bring it. This is another view that Darth and you might differ
on. No, I wouldn't say that it's merely the appearance of something happening. I'd say that normally it's always happening, but I mean, no, I wouldn't say it's just merely the appearance. No.
So it's actually the laws are being broken temporarily?
Well, it's how God himself instantiated these laws. They're not, I mean, they're not being broken.
Yeah,
it's just
but God also upholds all laws, right?
Right, yeah, he does.
With his will, right? So he could possibly say, hey, I'm going to will that gravity on this object is not going to work anymore, right?
Sure.
Right. So the Darth view is that miracles aren't actually any kind of break of the uniformity of nature. And he actually makes an analogy about a plane. He just says that miracles are just existing laws that act upon other things. Like a plane, if you drop it, it's going to fall. But other laws, right, like aerodynamics and aerofoils and lift, operate on the plane to, air quotes, supersede, the power of gravity otherwise. So in Darth's view, it seems like miracles are really just almost akin to like technology that we just don't understand. Just using laws that I guess we don't understand yet.
Yeah, that's potentially the case. I've never heard him say that before, so I'd have to ask him about that.
He would say that miracles aren't a breaking of natural laws. They're God, like suspending them, and like I don't know what word he would use, but
no,
it's
I don't
like
think he says
kind of
suspend. He says
supersede.
He says supersede. But it's just a weird idea because, first of all, I mean, how does he know that? I mean, does he think that God could, temporarily like stop a certain law or something? And if I guess maybe he doesn't. First of all, I don't think he would ever answer these questions, so I'm just really spitballing.
But if God instantiates these laws in the first place, then it shouldn't be a big problem for him to suspend them temporarily and in a specific place to achieve a specific goal.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but once he
I mean,
suspends
if
them,
he is
though,
omnipotent, he should be
Does
able
that
to
mean
do
every
that.
time an
Right? If
airplane
he's not
flies,
able
it
to
has
do
to
that,
One
then
at a
he's
time,
not
please.
omnipotent.
it makes miracles kind of relative. Yeah, so a miracle is just like relative to someone from like 1,000 years ago. It's like an airplane flying is a miracle.
But you know what I think is interesting, that atheists, they are so amazed or so incredulous about the miracles that are reported in the Bible, especially in regards of Christ. But if you think about the miracle of our existence, it is far greater. Even the fact that at the beginning, the entire mass of the entire universe was compressed in a minuscule, in a minute singularity smaller than a football.
Well, that's
Tangelo,
not
given the
a
fact
bait
that
and
the last
switch.
time that I engaged you on a topic like abiogenesis, you dishonestly evaded, told me that you knew all about clay substrate RNA chain synthesis, told me
Can
that
I
it was in your
finish my
video, told me to
sentence?
watch your video.
Why
And then
did
when I
you
watched your
interrupt?
video,
Why
it
did you
wasn't in the video
interrupt
like
me?
you promised that it
You
was.
interrupted
So
me
why
in
should
the
we take you
middle of my
seriously
sentence.
It's
on a
not a big
Why
topic
deal,
did
though,
you
Tangelo. Come on.
like the
interrupt me?
origins of the universe when you dishonestly evade
Can I
actual
finish
points?
my sentence? I would like to finish my sentence. Okay, so
I finished mine. Go ahead.
if we think about the mere fact that everything started in a hot dance,
yes, it's amazing.
it is amazing. Exactly.
But you don't believe that, do you?
Of course I do. I believe that.
You believe
God
that everything
created
was a dense singularity? Because that's not even a common view in science.
I believe that God created the entire universe. He stretched it out, as it is mentioned in the Bible. Of course, he started somewhere. And then thinking that he started from a singularity, there is nothing strange or which would be against the biblical account in Genesis. So if we take that scientific view, I mean, the mere fact that it breaks all the laws actually which are in operation. I mean, the second law is in operation. The first law is in operation. The mere fact that energy suddenly started breaks all laws.
If that's true, it's amazing. I got it. Yep, I agree.
Yeah, that's my point.
All right. I had a question though for Otangelo maybe, but more likely someone like JRobin. How do you yourself determine what is possible and impossible?
God is the reason why anything is possible and impossible. So.
Yeah, but how do you determine what is possible and impossible?
Via his revelation.
I don't understand what that means.
God reveals certain things in Scripture.
Are you saying you relinquish all reasoning to some absorption of God stuff?
Well, it wouldn't be
determine? How do you determine what is possible and impossible?
Yeah, by revelation. I have a revelatory epistemology. So when you ask me how I determine something, it's going to boil down ultimately to some sort of revelation.
Yeah, but has God revealed everything to you? Like,
but how do you determine how do you determine what 2 + 2 is? Is that
I mean, there are approximate causes, yes, but I mean, ultimately, yeah, it would be God's revelation.
Yeah, we don't understand what that really means.
That's because when we're talking about facts of existence, all facts of existence indicate God. So they'd be revelatory of God. Therefore, I'd know them via the revelation of God.
Well, I mean, okay, but
I can accept all that.
The question is, like, how is it indicative? So, for example, if I take apart some kind of product and all the things in the product are like all metric nuts and bolts and stuff like that, that's indicative of it being made, say, for instance, in like not the United States, which typically uses standard measurements, right? But that's going to be because of my background knowledge and me making some kind of like inference and stuff like that. But when you say just revelation, I don't know what that means. Are you saying this is like some kind of inference or something? Like, Can you actually walk us through what you mean by that? I don't understand.
Yeah, so like we use reason in the same way, right? We have like logical inference, that kind of thing, because they're revelatory of God. The difference between you and me is that I have a basis for these things. You don't. But other than that, yeah, go ahead.
Can I give you an example? Because this is really in depth, I think, what you're going to get into. But if we have an example like, say I told you that I rubbed two nickels together and a $50 appeared, how would you determine whether or not that was possible or impossible?
Well, I'd use induction. I'd use the scientific method, probably.
How?
The same way you would.
What you'd have to observe it?
The scientific method isn't going to tell you what's possible and impossible.
Oh, well, okay. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I would just,
maybe to him it is.
When it comes to whether or not it's possible or impossible, I mean, you can presume. So look. Okay, I haven't look. So this is, I would inductively, but given inductive reasoning, I would assume that, okay, because I'm not above using inductive reasoning. Everyone uses inductive reasoning. That's not the issue, though, right? The issue is whether or not the preconditions for inductive reasoning have been met. So yeah, I would use inductive reasoning. So I would look at instances, previous experience, and through that, right, I would determine, or I would come to a conclusion.
How would you apply inductive reasoning to a miracle?
You wouldn't.
So
Actually, wait, hold on. That question. Wait, let me just. I thought about the question for a little bit longer. Okay. When you say how do you imply inductive reasoning? Well, you just after observing the miracle, then that would just be added to your tabulation of experience, and then you determine that it's a miracle that has happened outside of.
So it's phenomenological. It's not epistemic.
But it's something that's possible.
No.
It's
Sorry, go ahead.
Something that's possible, which means that it's now added to the category of things that are possible, right? But how do you distinguish that from a miracle and then you just never observing that before?
Well, there are different realms of possibility, different modalities, as I say. So,
some people say.
All right. So certain things are possible within the realm of the physical laws that God has instantiated and that we know of. And then other things are not possible. And then in the instance of miracles, God may act contrary or supervene or intervene, I would say, in those circumstances against those physical laws.
So how would you be able to tell?
How would you be able to tell? It would be revealed.
What does that mean, though? I asked you what that meant. I still don't understand what that means.
What, that God revealed to you? In the same way that Jesus revealed that he was miraculous when he healed the sick people.
Meaning that I'm not following.
Well, how did the people that were sick determine that Jesus did miraculous things?
They thought that those things were impossible, so they deemed it a miracle.
Right.
Well, the Bible explicitly says that they were a miracle. So,
Bible says what?
That they were miraculous acts.
Right, but the Bible wrote that after the people already observed it and thought it was a miracle.
Sure. What's
Right. So you asked me why they thought it was a miracle. I'm telling you, right? They said, "Wow, that's crazy. I've never seen that happen. I don't know how that happened. I think that's a miracle." But that's also compatible with something that is possibly some kind of natural law or something like that.
Or even technology that they're not aware of, right? Like, like any technology that's sufficiently advanced would seem like magic or a miracle to a person who doesn't understand it, right?
We could also
Yeah,
say
I'm not.
maybe,
Look. I'm not saying that there are certain things that people may classify as miracles that aren't miracles, and certain things that are not miracles that people may classify, or the other way around. Like I'm not making that claim.
Yeah, I got you. I mean, can you just see it from like our perspective? Like the notion of a miracle is kind of confusing. It's almost like, you know, the notion of something being supernatural, and well, how do we know it's supernatural and not just something natural that we weren't familiar with before, right? Kind of a similar problem.
back then, the viruses and diseases may have been a lot lighter than they are now, and it wouldn't have taken as much to cure you of them. But if you weren't, you know, didn't get your herbs.
Okay, JRobin, can I just ask you one other question? Hold on a second. There's some people on YouTube they ask questions, and like, look, you just can give a short answer, but let's see. What is this question? Oh God, there's so many.
I have to go soon
okay.
too.
Okay. I'll just be really quick. Magellan says, please ask JRobin how he can associate himself with such a clearly violent, abusive, narcissistic bully.
I don't consider him a bully.
Okay.
I've said in his presence and to him that I don't agree with the fact that he curses at people. I don't think his general disposition of being very forthright is inherently wrong or anything.
Forthright. Okay.
Another. Ask Jay why he allows / encourages the disgusting. It's kind of the same thing. Disgusting behavior. You can just answer that quickly. Behavior from Darth. Blah blah blah. Let's see what else. I'm just looking at the ones where I was added. That's about it. Okay, well, I had one more question, and I don't know is also acceptable. I asked you this before. It's something like, in order to have intelligibility, why is it necessary that God's always truth revealing?
Yeah, because epistemologic. Yeah, because when you're appealing to a revelation, you're gonna have to have. It's gonna be on the basis God's truth, always truth revealing. Otherwise, you don't have any ground to stand on to make claims about infallible revelation. If you accept that God could lie even one time, then you're gonna have to give me limits and substantiate them as to in which scenarios God cannot lie. Or
you actually just illustrated that the problem is your ability to invoke infallibility. That's all.
No, it's not. It's not an issue of infallibility. It's an issue of the fact that revealing, like that he's revealing things truthfully. So maybe I use infallibly the wrong. The point is that God's revealing things, and God's revealing them truthfully or accurately, right? And that God is not being deceitful or lying. And so, in a world where you're going to concede that God is, where God is lies, even in one instance, okay, you have to answer and substantiate what limits that there are.
Okay, I'm having trouble following, and it's probably my fault, right? But just for the sake of the YouTube, I'll just go over the example really quickly. So my question was something like, if somebody is dying, like from dehydration, and they're crawling in the Sahara Desert, which is like nothing in any direction for miles, and 1 second right before they die, God whispers into their ear that there's an even number of hydrogen atoms in the universe instead of an odd number, which is the actual case. Why is it that when that happens, halfway around the globe in like New York, when some guy orders a club sandwich in a diner, the waitress can no longer understand him?
Because God's a liar. God's a deceiver.
But how? I'm trying to. I don't. It's not connected for me though, right? For example, I mean,
because in such a scenario now, God can
hold on before you say that. Let me just say this. Presumably, like your mother has lied to you before, but she's intelligible, right?
Right, but she like the fact that you might have someone in your day-to-day life reveal or tell something to you. Ultimately, that's going to be filtered through the worldview that you're espousing or that you're holding to. Okay,
right.
And in the
I understand. You're
worldview,
saying like the lying is somehow like more on a more foundational level, right? I understand that,
right.
but I'm not. I don't get it. I really don't get it. I want to get it. I don't get it.
Well, I think that all JRobin is saying with this is that, as applied to what Tom's example, is that the waitress or the guy ordering, they just can't be certain of anything. That's all JRobin's claim is saying. That if
That's
God
not
lies
Darth's claim,
once,
though. That's not.
well,
if I don't. Well, no. JRobin is answering the question that why there can't be intelligibility, right?
Right, but what he's saying only implies that those people wouldn't be certain what a club sandwich was.
No, that's false. Intelligibility without intelligibility, JJ, they can't like the analysis of what a club sandwich is like. And there's not even going to be a possibility of deliberation over like what's a club sandwich, because that's all those words, all those reference language, all requires intelligibility. So you're just flat wrong.
Well, he's talking about certainty, though. That was his claim. I'm just using J.
No, I'm
Robin's words.
talking about if you're going to espouse a worldview where God is a liar, in the same way you might espouse a worldview where there are true contradictions, then you're going to be in the position of having to explain to us how it is the case or what limits are put in place as to what can and cannot be a contradiction. And if you can't do that, then your worldview is reduced to absurdity.
That's a slightly different claim, though.
Dialectics,
because before
JRobin
what you were talking about,
do that.
Hold on, I don't want to get too off track. You guys are going off the track.
No, I want to go back to the track because that's a different claim. Before he said that you couldn't be certain about stuff. That's what he.
No, I didn't say certainty. I didn't invoke
you
certainty.
You did, in fact, say certainty. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's sorry. I didn't mean to.
Okay, so
it's getting late. It's getting late. Okay, so I'm gonna have to go soon.
Okay, yeah, I understand. Well, just like in a few minutes, we'll let you go. But like, so you're saying, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like you're saying that it's impossible for there to be intelligibility for the waitress when the guy orders a club sandwich, if God lies. And what I take it to mean by impossible is that like there's some kind of contradiction. Does that sound right to you?
No, I'm dealing. Okay, so when I say contradiction, or when I say something's impossible, I'm speaking with respect to what God has revealed about Himself and about the world. Okay, when I am addressing another person's worldview, okay, I'm going to address it as to what they're espousing. Okay, and if they're going to tell me that God is lying, that God can lie, then I'm going to need to know the limits as to which, or as to what, as to what the parameters are when God can and cannot lie. So, as with respect to the contradiction issue, no, I'm not. I'm specifically talking about just like their worldview and what they're talking.
Okay, so just to be clear, there's no contradiction between God telling one lie and still having intelligibility.
Well, no, there is, because you can't ground. There is because you can't tell it. You can't ground why one state of affairs is one where God can't lie and one is where God can lie.
Huh?
if you're going to espouse a worldview where you're going to explain the limits.
No, this is just like all we're like, this is like thought experiment is like within like the Christian worldview, I guess, right? Like we're saying that like if this was the case under the the Christian worldview wouldn't allow for this, right? It's like if under the Christian worldview God told one lie, we wouldn't have intelligibility, right?
No, he wouldn't.
Right, but we wouldn't because there's a contradiction.
No, he wouldn't because God's a liar. That would be the case.
But why does him telling one lie mean that there can't be intelligibility for the guy ordering a club sandwich?
Because then we can't rationally ground any state of affairs.
But you're just talking about like some sort of epistemic grounding or something. But like for example,
that's what I'm talking about.
I.e., degree of certainty.
I am comparing two worldviews. That's the whole point.
Yeah, but I mean, like similarly, like you're saying that without the uniformity of nature, we couldn't have intelligibility. But let's say you're playing tennis, and then one particle in the Andromeda galaxy zigs when it's supposed to zag. Does that mean like you can't hit the ball around on the court anymore? I mean, one particle that is out of accord with the uniformity of particles and how they operate would mean that there is no uniformity of nature. But I don't see how that one particle would like affect us here.
Well, with respect to God's revelation and the fact that He's always truth revealing, God's revealed that of Himself. And so, if any part of Him were to be lacking or not to be accurate revelation, that we'd be seeing a completely different world. The full metaphysical implications of it couldn't go into because God has revealed that. The bottom line, God's revealed the fact that He's always truth revealing. That's a necessary part of Himself.
Yeah, I mean that would just be like in conflict with your understanding of God. But like apart from that, I was just trying to tease out like the contradiction solely in the idea of God always being truth revealing and there being unintelligibility. But what you're pointing out is not really a contradiction between being always truth revealing and intelligibility. It's just like you're just kind of saying this is in conflict with the concept of God, so it couldn't happen because He's not that way. But like it's whatever. Like I'm not gonna like press you on it. I mean, I'm thankful for getting answers as much as I did, but I know you have to go, so I'll let you go. If you want to have the last word, go ahead.
No, it's been a good conversation. I think it's been nice.
JRobin, before you go, can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Just a little question. So, for what is the entailment of not having intelligibility? That means that people cannot talk among each other without understanding. Is this an entailment of having unintelligibility?
Yeah, I mean the words wouldn't have meaning, right? We wouldn't have like anything.
That is an entailment, but it's by far not exclusive to that, Tasteless.
JRobin, what were you saying?
So people would be able to talk between themselves, but they wouldn't be able to understand each other, or what?
Well,
I don't even think they'd be able to talk.
You couldn't even talk. Yeah, like you couldn't understand the concept of talking. It wouldn't mean anything in a world of unintelligibility.
Okay, that's it. It doesn't sound very good, but okay, if that is the position, that's fine.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good. That would be bad.
I heard my name. You were going to ask me something, JRobin? What?
No, I don't.
No, I didn't. I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay.
JRobin, do you think it's possible or impossible that I rub these nickels together and produced whatever, a grapefruit?
I think it's possible, but I'm not. I don't have a lot.
Thank
I don't
you.
have a lot. I don't have a lot of argument for that.
I'm not going to beg for one.
All right. Look.
Why
go
would
take
you be
Ginger
rubbing
out.
your
Come on.
nipples?
She's begging.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, I'll talk to you guys later.
All right. See you, man.
We will be
See
here.
ya, dude.
Thanks, man.
You see, that was a good, nice conversation.
I want more JRobin.
I agree. It was. Yeah. I mean, I feel like. I mean, I wanted answers that were better, but I mean, I'll take it, I guess.
I think there's a lot of things
you
he
learn
doesn't want to
anything?
answer.
I mean, I'm more. Actually, I did learn some things. I learned that JRobin has multiple views that are very different from Darth's.
You think Darth argument is weak?
Yeah, he thinks that the Muslim argument isn't a good argument. He thinks that miracles, like ontologically, are something different than Darth thinks. He disagrees with the argument about God said it was not good when it comes to Adam, and it was in virtue of Adam not being able to relate to anybody. He on his own came to the same objection that I had. Yeah, I mean, amongst other things. I'd like to hear him hash it out.
Yeah, probably you can do that in the future. I mean, the guy is good enough. I mean, he wants to have these conversations, right?
No.
What?
I think he would. Well, I think in a sense, yes. I think that he wants to explore these things, but I think it's not the case that he wants to explore it with Darth, because, like, look, come on, let's all be honest here. For JRobin to explore all these things with Darth can be a tricky situation. Just
for him,
as far as like socially and diplomatically. I mean,
It's like saying you want to discuss what you did wrong with your dad behind the woodshed, right?
What?
Jesus.
Did you have to add in
I gotta say
shit?
something. I mean, I
That
clearly
sounds
see
dirty.
God respects JRobin. Because listen, when I asked Darth a question and I told him that JRobin wasn't able to answer it, Darth went like, "Oh, I find that hard to believe, to be honest." Like, I mean, Darth actually he thinks very highly of JRobin.
Well, that's more reason why JRobin might not want to crush that image that Darth has of him then, because he wouldn't want to be in opposition.
Right.
Yeah, on the YouTube stream, I labeled it as JRobin parentheses Darth First Officer. So yeah, JRobin is like a Will Riker to Darth's Captain Picard.
Be advised, JRobin is going to play Battlefield with me.
Are you serious?
Oh my goodness.
Nice. This outreach program's
Are you
really
serious?
The outreach.
He said he didn't have the game. I'm going to buy him a key.
Oh.
That would be awesome.
Yes, you are.
We got to make this happen.
Let's see. I did get a super chat from Bubble Gun. People thinking with their
nice.
testicles. That's no good. Maybe are you talking about Jim Majors? Darth always brings that up. But thanks, man. Okay, with that, I'm going to end the stream. Anyone who's watching, you can come in to talk if you want. And also, there is a JHC sighting in chat, so everyone say hi to JHC.
Hey, JHC.
Come back. Come
Hey,
back.
maggot, you fucking maggot, come here.
Please come back,
Come in and say
JC.
hi.
Come back.
JC, please come.
JC.
Send a fucking message.
All right, have a good night, guys.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.